Yo, what's going on, snipers, and welcome back to your United Draft to Glory franchise mode here in NHL 26. So in last episode, if you did not catch it, we basically had the off season, and we have continued to draft some pretty good players, and also we are starting to get some good development where our team is starting to come together a little bit, I would say, and I'm very excited for the season simulation in this episode because I think we could take that next step. So basically with our first round pick or third overall pick, we decided to go a little bit off the board and select this low elite in Jared Law, who's going to be making his NHL debut this season. So it's going to be very exciting to see if he could get some really good development playing in a top 6 role, and hopefully guys like Mullen continue to grow as well in that top 6. Aside from that, we did draft our second guy with the same name in Quentin Caucherain. Doesn't have much potential, but it's just kind of funny to have a fourth line with two guys with the exact same name. And then we go to defense. We have been getting some good development from Bob Paco. So Paco will be making the NHL this season. He has jumped up already to a 67, so I'm hoping he continues to grow. He will be getting some power play time this year and all that, so I'm hoping he produces on a good level that he could get up to maybe like a 75 or something like that by the end of the season, because that'd be quite exciting. And then from a goaltending standpoint, we do have a rookie net in Jan Kvapil, who has interestingly enough was a 72 out of the draft. Doesn't have much potential, but I think he should be a solid goaltender for us just because obviously he's our highest overall goalie. It will take also a little bit of pressure off of Lysak a bit because he obviously has the better potential, but he hasn't really developed that well so far up to this point. So basically, I think Kvapil will probably end up being our starter for multiple years until we obviously get our other goalie that we drafted in the last episode ready for the NHL, which right now he's currently unsigned. So we're kind of taking a slow approach a bit in terms of developing that goaltender, but hopefully this team gets some good growth this season, and hopefully we also get ourselves some good players in next episode in the upcoming draft class. But anyways, with that said, let's get in your guys' comments, see what you guys have to say about last episode, and then we will see how this team simulates this season and see if we improve upon last year. So the first comment is from CookieBlock37, who says, what exactly is the gem/bus system doing? And I think basically with the gems, there's a higher chance that they actually can develop and become good. So if you have a low 4, for instance, that's a gem, they have a higher chance to becoming good than, say, a low 4 that has no gem status. I would assume it's something like that. Also, I would assume busts have a higher chance of not really developing well, so that's kind of my guess on it and how I would assume it, but I've never really drafted any busts before in franchise mode, so I don't know if they actually do bust or if they decide to actually develop too. So at some point, if we ever draft a bust, maybe we could take a look and see how they develop and see if it develops slower than what a gem would. A gem, sometimes, like if you get a lowly gem, I've seen those guys develop really well, so I'd assume gem for sure definitely develops faster than normal, and bust, they develop maybe slower than normal speed. So if you see a medium 6 that's listed as a bust or something like that, take a normal medium 6 over that bust probably, because they actually might develop a bit quicker, in my opinion at least. The next comment is from Mike Garbrandt, who says, feels like the first 2 picks of each draft will be so critical to this challenge. Exciting to see what happens this next season. Not too sure if we have signed all 8 coaches, especially when developing players. Is there any player types or positions we should be asking these players to try out yet? And I'm not too sure if we're going to necessarily get people to try other positions fully, but maybe. I'm just trying to think of what we could do. We could definitely get guys like Mullen probably to add left wing because he doesn't have good face-off stats. So we could probably ask him on that department. The only thing is we don't really need him to be a left winger because at some stage Mullen might be not that great. Maybe he's more of a third line left winger. Law should be like at least a top 6 left winger at some point in time. We're using him as a right winger right now. I guess we could always try and get him to play right wing as well, but it's tough to say. Obviously, with Klinga, I should say, being our number 1 left wing, there's not really anybody that's going to get better than he is unless we draft a franchise left winger. So we probably really don't need to ask people to change player types. We could always try and get some of our defensemen to play right side and left side, but I think right now we're still trying to figure out our roster, so I don't really know if there's any players I would try and get to change player types or add player types, or even change like how they simulate basically. Because like for instance, like Earl Mullen, he's a 3-star shooter. Okay, it kind of makes sense that he's a sniper. Trying to see if there's anybody that wouldn't make sense for their player type. But most of these guys probably should. Yeah, because even like Kearns, for instance, has 77 passing, and he is a playmaker. So I guess maybe the attribute's a little bit more realistic for each of these guys, but a lot of these guys will probably get winged out, especially in the bottom 6, so I'm not really too worried about getting people to change player types yet. But maybe at some stage, obviously, when we have a full roster, if we need to kind of fit people in a little bit better, we could always try and do that. And he was saying, not sure if we have all 8 coaches signed yet. I don't think we do. I don't really know if it's necessary to have 8 coaches regardless. Like, we don't have an assistant coach in the NHL or AHL or a goalie coach. I mean, we could probably pick up some just to fill out the coaching staff a little bit more. So let's see if there's any with good teaching grades, basically. So we'll find ourselves a goalie coach, which is already one. So we'll bring this guy in as an AHL goalie coach. We'll just time this up a little bit, and that way we have a goalie coach down in the minors. And then we also need an assistant coach in the NHL. I don't want anybody with a super high overall rating, to be honest. So we'll probably look for somebody like a B, maybe, like this guy. Even if he doesn't fit our team, we'll just bring him in. I don't want us to over-simulate, really, so I'm hoping that these guys don't make us too good, but we'll try and bring them in just to see if it helps out our team a little bit at least. Because a little bit of growth from our team is not a bad idea. And then also this guy we'll bring in, I guess, as an AHL assistant, even though he just teaches goalies. We might as well. So those will be our 3 coaches we'll add to this roster. They should probably all accept, I would assume, unless we're not giving them enough money, but I would assume they'd accept. The next comment is from the Leafs fan, who says, it's interesting to me how there's always some sort of 80 overall elite player that falls to the late first round, early second round. And yeah, there was a player that, if you guys didn't see last episode, we could have drafted, but we really didn't know the guy's potential or anything because we saw that it said like low 6 or something like that. So we're like, we're probably not going to draft him. We probably should have looked at his attributes because he was an 80 overall lowly defenseman, which would have been absolutely nice to have on our defensive core. Now, I don't think it was a huge loss that we didn't end up getting somebody like him, because we did end up getting instead Josh Urquhart in the early second round as a 71, which I think is a pretty solid player as well. But obviously we kind of want those lowlies, I feel like, maybe more than those medium 4s, but it's tough to say. I'm just hoping in general that we get good growth from our team and all that stuff, so that could kind of make up for the selection. But maybe we should have drafted that defenseman first overall, and maybe Law should have been a player that we looked into in the second round if he actually was still there. But I don't really care too much. It's just one player. Hopefully this year's draft class has a player like that as well. The next comment is from I Am the Quiet One, who says, definitely a strong draft class. Unfortunate that you missed out on Winchester. Even though you did, Urquhart will definitely play well enough, and maybe Paco could develop into being something similar to Winchester. Definitely add Paco to the NHL lineup with Urquhart, as I believe it will help him develop at a steady pace. I would believe that by the end of the upcoming season, Paco will be a 70 plus overall. He was a 61 to a 67, by the way. And yeah, I think Paco is going to get a good chunk of growth this season. He has been getting really good growth over the course of 1 year only, because he started out as a really low overall. And then we decided to play him 1 year in the AHL, and he jumped up to a 67. You can see it last year in the AHL, 19 points, which is pretty solid. He shot the puck 209 times. I just realized that. So it looks like he's definitely pretty high up on the shoot pass bias, unless that's just in the AHL only. But he definitely has some really good attributes offensively. So I think, obviously, since we have him on our power play unit with some big stud players, obviously, from that top 6, like Klinga, Benak, Romas, I think there's a good chance that that guy could be really good production-wise this season. And if he's not really good production-wise in his first season, maybe he'll just get a ton of growth, and that will help him, obviously, become that low lead or even a medium elite defenseman at some point in time. The next comment is from Pistol_P2, who says, that was an insane draft. And yeah, it was a pretty insane draft. There was some players that were going like mid-first round that were like 79 overall out of the draft. So yeah, there was some pretty damn solid players. And like I said, I hope that the draft class quality is like that every single year. But I would assume that we're going to get a weaker class probably this season, just because last year was so good. But who knows, maybe it'll be better. And the last and final comment is from Ice Attack, who says, that Winchester pick really stings. Hopefully the people you picked will still end up good, though. And I think they will for the most part. I think, obviously, Urquhart should get some good growth because he is going to be playing top 4 minutes in his first NHL season. But I think also just him playing on a defensive pairing with an offensive defenseman, like, he's definitely going to be like the rock behind him. And I'm hoping that he could play good enough defensively for us. Like, obviously, he's not going to have good plus minus in his first NHL season, but he should be still decent down the road. The thing I also like about Urquhart a little bit, though, is he does have some actually decent shooting. So maybe there's a chance Urquhart could develop more into being like a two-way kind of defenseman. Obviously, we're not going to get him to change his player type right away, but he does have like 80 shot power, 81 wrist shot power. So he probably will be able to pick up some points for us, I would assume, this season next to Paco. And that's my hope at least. And then hopefully he gets enough growth that he could become maybe like a 75 or something like that by the end of the season. And also, hopefully guys like Law jump up a decent amount within the first few weeks of the season or something like that. So I think we're ready to get into the season sim. I don't think there's really anything I need to do before we start this episode. I think everything was set up properly. And we do have some guys in the AHL, though, this year, like Wakabayashi, for instance, and even Master Liski got sent back down. So I'm hoping that the AHL team obviously gets some growth down there, but there's still not a crazy amount of potential. Like, Nichols is technically the best potential player, I think, down there. Him, Wakabayashi, and that's pretty much it. So, yeah, just hoping the AHL team gets good growth. Brad Andrews, obviously, kind of sucks to send him back down, but maybe he'll come back to the NHL again next season, but hopefully the AHL guys continue to get development as the NHL team does as well. Because if those guys that are in the AHL don't really get development, that's going to hurt us in the long run. Obviously, right now we still have like an AHL top 6 in Reber, so I'm hoping we could start to wean those type of players out this upcoming season. So with that said, let's get into this season simulation and see what this team can do. I'm not really too sure what my guess is for the amount of wins this season. I'm going to guess maybe closer to double-digit wins because I think we're starting to build up that forward group, of course, that defensive core is starting to come together. And then obviously the goaltending should be a little bit better since we have a 72 in net over a 66, but honestly no idea what to expect. So let's see what this team does. Also, we do have a new coaching staff in the NHL technically too, so that could also help us play a little bit better. So let's see if this team can maybe win 10 games. That's the goal. Will we actually get it? Tough to say. Tough to say. Looks like all those coaches that we just offered are accepting. What does our head coach have to say about our team? Let's go preseason first, and we're just going to do strength training again. But what does he think about our roster on paper? Still a lot of work to go. Not really a surprise. Not a surprise. But I think we're getting there in terms of not necessarily a playoff team yet, but a team that could start winning at least some games during the season, right? So there's our NHL assistant coach. Hopefully Weinrich doesn't make us too good by having another decent coach in. But let's go through the preseason and see how many wins we could get there. And then obviously the regular season should be a completely different animal. But like I said, I'm really hoping our team can get close to double-digit wins this season and take that next step forward. Well, we already started the preseason off with a win, so that's a decent start to see that. But we obviously are losing every game after that, which typically happens with this team. We go on big losing streaks. And our last game of the preseason is also a loss. So 1-7 in the preseason. Obviously not a great preseason. So this team probably still won't be that good. But look at the stat line from Kvapil in those 5 games that he played. God damn, I just realized that. That's insane. We'll come back to that in a second here. But in terms of like our forward stats from the preseason, Klinga had 4 goals in 5 games, or not 5 games, in 8 games, 5 points. So our top guys were technically the best players. Hromis didn't have a single goal in the preseason, which is kind of strange, but it is what it is. A lot of people on our forward group did not have points in the preseason, no. And then from a defensive standpoint, Emerson had 3, Albertozer had 2. Paco picked up a goal. He had 15 shots on goal in the preseason. I think Bob Paco is going to be a goal-scoring defenseman. That's my guess right now. Because if he's averaging 15 shots in 8 games, what is that in terms of a shot pass bias via my old chart that I made for my throwback rosters? I'm kind of curious on that. Like 15 divided by 8 is 1.875 shots per game. If we do that in an 82-game season, he's averaging 153 shots per game, which according to my shoot pass bias, let me see if I can find this. Let's see, 150 plus shots. He is probably around like an 8 or a 7 on the shoot pass bias, so I think he's definitely more of a goal-scoring defenseman than we anticipate. I'm hoping he also has some good assist numbers, but I think he's going to score a decent chunk of goals this season. That's my prediction right now. And then from a goaltending perspective, this is what I saw, though. Jan Kvapil, despite having the 1-3 record, posted a .930 save percentage in the preseason. So he's already off to a really good start in terms of save percentage. I don't know how his regular season will go, but he's already jumped up to a 73 after a couple preseason games. That's kind of strange. Don't think I've seen that before. And then Lysak continues to get absolutely destroyed. So we'll see what Kvapil could do in the NHL season. I don't expect a 930 save percentage, but maybe he's going to be one of the first goalies in franchise history to get closer to a 900 save percentage. So let's simulate to the regular season and see what this team can do in the regular season. Like I said, I don't really expect a ton of wins, but I would hope to get close to 10 wins this year, but it might be wishful thinking too. So let's just go through the entire season as a whole. We'll probably stop it at some points in time, but let's see what this team could do this year and see if we could put together some decent wins this year. I don't care about the waivers. We did lose to Washington 7-4 to start off the season. Lost 3-0. That's not really a terrible game. It sucks that our offense didn't score, but we didn't give up a ton. Maybe our defensive play could pick up a little bit this year. When is our first win of the season going to come, though? Because we do have a better coaching staff, so we should hypothetically be simulating better. And if we don't, that's kind of a bad thing, but maybe we're going to have a really bad season this year again and get the top pick again. Tough to say. There's a shootout loss, so that's our first point of the year. I will take it. Can we get any wins, though? Because so far we have no wins to start off the season. There's the shootout win over Tampa 5-4, so asking you shall receive. Any more wins coming in this month? Because we do have points a little bit as of late, but not still that crazy. There's another shootout loss. I'll take it. At least we're losing some games in extra frame. There's another shootout loss. Damn, we have 3 shootout losses. 4 shootout losses on the season. All 2-1 games. And it looks like our defensive play has improved drastically in a couple of those games. Because that was 4 games almost of the last 5 that were all determined by 1 goal. And we only gave up technically 1 goal in regulation. We did beat the Blackhawks for our second game of the season. Lose to the Devils in overtime. Right now, we have more overtime losses than regulation wins still. But at least this team, I think, is improving in a way just because we are taking it at least to extra frame a decent amount. Like, we're also losing games like that against the Kings and the Capitals by only 1 goal. There's a win over Carolina 4-3. So, yeah, we're definitely having a lot closer of games. I feel like Kvapil's stats are going to be more impressive than we think, but there is some really bad games too, so probably balance itself out. We do beat the Habs 5-2 for our 4th win of the year. I'll take it. We're on 4 wins only. 7-5 loss to Pittsburgh. That's still 5 goals for, so definitely some good improvement there. I should have probably looked into doing a contract extension already for whoever's up this offseason, which I think might be Klinga. But we'll probably give him a big contract extension. Yeah, let's actually look into that right now. I know it's kind of going to spoil maybe some point leaders on this team, but I want to see how much Klinga is going to cost us right now. Yeah, because he's definitely going to be the most expensive. How much is he wanting at the moment? Let's go to 8-year deal for Klinga. Let's do a clause so that helps out the contract offer. How much am I going to have to give to Klinga? I want him locked up already, so I'm going to just try and get this done before he gets too expensive. We might overpay on him a little bit here early on, but I think he's going to develop into becoming still a really good player. I don't even know how much points he has this season. And it's not going up more until we get up to like this point. So, I don't know if he's worth it. $10 million is not bad still. I'd still pay him over $10 million, I think, with the cap going up and all that. So, let's do 10.15 for 8 years. See if he'll accept that with a clause. I think that's worth that type of money. He's going to be one of our better players down the road. So, we might as well lock him up if possible. So, let's continue to get the rest of the season done, though. Just wanted to make sure we at least threw our name into the hat to try and get Klinga re-signed already. And he's accepted the offer. So we could have probably maybe went for less, but he does accept it, which is good. Game against St. Louis, 3-1 loss. It's kind of crazy that we allow 11 goals still in some of these games, but we still definitely need work. It looks like still we're having some good defensive games occasionally, though, too. So definitely, I think we're taking some steps forward this year, but there's still a lot of work to go. But it should be exciting still. Once we get to the point of actually maybe making the playoffs, we do beat Nashville 2-1, so that's a good defensive effort Followed up by an 8-1 loss. There's a win over Columbus. So this is already our most wins, I think, in franchise history. That was a shutout win over Columbus. That is probably the first shutout in franchise history. I don't think we have had a shutout up to this point. So we might have to go back and see who got that shutout. Actually, we'll probably take a look when we look at the player stats. But I am surprised we picked up a shutout. That's really good to see. There's another shutout. 2 shutouts in the same month from this team for 7 wins on the year, as we're closing in on double-digit wins potentially. We have had points in more than 10 games, which is good. Definitely improving. I am very curious how, if both goalies picked up a shutout or if it's been Kvapil. Because if Kvapil's picking up multiple shutouts, that's impressive. There's another win for win 8. I'm expecting still maybe close to 10 wins if this team can string together a couple more. It's possible. It's possible. There's a loss to Boston. Anaheim we beat for win 9. Can we get win 10? Not there. Come on, give me win 10, boys. Because then I will be happy. I will be very happy with 10 wins on the year. Because that's exactly what I was kind of predicting. Let's see, Vancouver 3-0 loss. Come on. One of these teams we should be able to beat. 6-4 loss. That's still kind of close. Vegas 4-3 loss. Colorado 7-2 loss. Tampa 5-2 loss. Okay, we're on a losing streak again. Rangers are a 5-2 loss. St. Louis 6-4 loss. Couple more games left to go. Please, guys, give me win 10. Minnesota 5-2 loss. Ottawa 8-5 loss. Florida is 7-1 loss. Seattle, come on, 5-2 loss. And Utah to end the season's a 4-2 loss. So we just finished below 10 wins, which kind of sucks. But 968-5, which, if I remember last year, I think we had like 4 or 5 wins. So I think we're starting to kind of at least trend in the right direction. But still another tough year for this team. But next year we should be able to easily hit 10 plus wins, in my opinion. All right, let's take a look at some stats here from the season. See how good our team was. But obviously we're going to hide some stats here for a second. I'm going to close my eyes, and I'm going to take a look at the standings. So, in terms of the entire league, we're probably dead last. Yes, we were, by 50 points still. So, we're still definitely the worst team in the league by a large margin. However, goals for per game, now we're almost averaging 2 goals per game as a team. So, our offense is still getting better for sure. Goals against also, I think, is improving quite well. Because 4.89, that's just like over a goal more against per game than Philadelphia, but I think this is definitely better than last year. I feel like last year we were over 5, but I could be wrong. Our power play is still shit at 8.5%. Penalty kill 81.3%, so our penalty kill was not the worst in the league, so we are improving defensively a lot, I think. And we had 4 short-handed goals as a team here this year, which is definitely our best. 3-36-2 on home ice, 6-32-3 on the road, so better road team, but we do have points on both home and away ice, which is good to see. So, looking decent from that perspective. Let's take a look at some stats. Hromis led the team in points, and he's already up to a 91. Damn. Hromis is going to be a very expensive player when his ELC ends, but he's probably going to be worth it because he's definitely showing to me early on that he's very good. Let's hide once again the stats. And let me close my eyes and change it over by position so we can get surprised on like guys like Paco's stats and all that. So let's see what we got here. Starting off with the centers, Adam Benak, 59 points this year, minus 46. Only being a minus 46 is awesome. Definitely improved defensively in that area in that sense. But Benak continues to be pretty damn consistent. He is getting better every year in terms of point production and also his defensive play. So shout out to Adam Benak. Looking still pretty damn good. Hasn't gone up past that 86 yet, so I wonder if he's going to cap out around that. If so, then obviously his cap hit isn't really going to be that bad. I don't think he's going to cost us 10 plus million, but maybe he will because we're on a draft to glory team, but he's looking good. Mullen had a good year too. Earl Mullen broke out this year a little bit. 16 goals, 14 assists, 30 points. I don't remember how much he had last year. 14 points only, so yeah. Doubled up on goals, doubled up plus in assists. Yeah, he's looking decent. Looks like he needs to be probably playing on the power play consistently. But he's definitely a sniper, which is good. Then we also have Barrett, 27 points. pretty solid for Barrett. I don't remember how much he had last year. 14 points. So it looks like a couple guys took that next step up, which is good to see. Reber on 21. We don't really expect him to get much better at this point, but he is still a consistent point producer at least. But at some point, he will probably be back in the minors. Sazongoth only 7 points. Not crazy. He's not really developed much either. He's been averaging under 10 points a season since the first season where he had power play time. So the only way we get him probably going back up in overall is giving him power play time. Because since not having power play time, he's been absolutely mid as hell. So he's probably one of the worst bottom 6 potential guys we have on the team right now. Left wing side of things, Klingel had 60 points, 25 goals for Rudolph Klingel, 35 assists. A really solid year for Rudolph. He's up to an 88 overall. And yeah, he's still getting better as well every single season. He did have one of our shorthand goals as well this year. So shout out to Rudolph. Minus 34 is also a very big improvement. So liking that a lot. Law in his rookie season had a 16-goal season. That's impressive. 139 penalty minutes though. So Jared Law must be like the lawmaker or something like that. So does he fight? I'm kind of curious on that. Let's see. His fights, let's see, 20 fights as a rookie for Jared Law. Well, we got ourselves a criminal or a lawmaker or something like that. But Jared Law definitely, he's in the box a lot, which is kind of weird. So I guess he's fighting the law in a way. I don't really know. But he's definitely in like a jail cell or something. But 20 fights as a rookie is absolutely insane. He is a two-way forward, but you do not expect two-way forwards as much to fight that crazily. But he's definitely kind of like a grinder more than anything right now. But he is scoring goals too, despite the lack of ice time because he's in the box so much. But I think he could still develop into being something crazy. But I think if he's going to get a lot of ice time, he might be taking more penalties than we'd like. Kern's 13 points. He's the complete reverse. Only 6 penalty minutes. How's he in terms of overall? 68. His point production is pretty consistent, but it's not the greatest. Koshrain, which is the non-rookie, won 3 points this year. Last year, he had 4 points, but his plus-minus improved a lot, so I'll take that. From a right-wing perspective, Hromis had 25 goals and 61 points, obviously, as we saw, to lead the team. And he has generated some X factors. He doesn't like the coach, apparently, right now, but he has generated some more X factors. He only had quick release before the season, but now he's generated Big Rig and Born Leader. We do need a captain still. I know you guys want Dave or some other people, but maybe Hromis, since he generated Born Leader, should be a captain material type of player. Tough to say. But he's only got like another 1 year left before we have to give him a ton of money. But I don't know how he generated Born Leader, but I'm definitely going to take that. And Big Rig is pretty good as well as an ability, even though he's only 5'10". Yeah, I'm really liking that. But he does not like the... he likes the current coach, actually. Never mind. The coach satisfaction, the one that he doesn't like is Conley. But it might be just because his team's not simulating the best. But Hromis has really taken that step in these 2 years. He's been a consistent 20-goal guy already. Over 50 points. And he shoots a lot of pucks. 250 shots this season, so he's looking good. I don't know if I would want him fully as the captain, but if he generated like Born Leader, he should maybe be, or at least an assistant. Schmidt on 11 points, not bad. Koshrain on 4 in his first season, so that's the other Koshrain. So both Koshrains, if we look at the 4 perspective, not doing a lot for our bottom 6, but yeah, the 2 Koshrains were the worst players on the team offensively. That's actually kind of funny. But our top line did a lot of good work, and then guys like Mullen and Law had good rookie seasons. Or Mullen, not really a rookie, but I'll definitely take that. What about defense? How good of a season did Paco have? 32 points for Albertozer, 28 for Paco. All right, that's good. That's good. So Albertozer is another offensive defenseman, but he's looking decent still too. Pretty consistent right now. Takes 8 penalty minutes every single year, apparently. But he did have one of our shorthanded goals as a defenseman too. So I do still really like Albertozer. We do have him on a crazy good little deal. But I don't know if he's going to really grow much better than a 77. Maybe he get to 79, 80. But obviously he's not a top 4. But obviously this is a pretty good rookie year. Really bad plus minus though. But Bob Paco, oh my goodness. Wow. See, this is why you generate low leads. So what was it? Senator Taco is saying, oh, maybe he's the next Olli Houghton. I was hoping he'd be a really good player. In the span of 2 years since we've drafted him, he has jumped up from a 49 to an 85, I think. Wow. I was not expecting to see the 85. Like, he was at the start of the season, he was a 67? Wasn't he? 67, 69, something like that. But my goodness, we literally only drafted this guy a couple episodes ago, and goddamn, he's generated some crazy growth. And look at his offensive awareness, 92, passing's in 91, his shooting is 4-star already too. Wow. Well, that's definitely going to make our defensive core better, having a guy like Paco and Antonio on it. Paco only technically just starts his ELC this year because of the fact he was in the AHL last year, but wow. All right, well, we're going to have to lock him up long-term when that contract ends. He is absolutely awesome. 28 points as a rookie is really solid, too. 7 goals is good. Like, yeah, this is exactly what I was hoping for. He shot 185 shots, which is, I think, what I was determining he was on pace for around. I can't remember, but we'll continuously give him some power play time. Looks like he does block shots as an OFD, which is also kind of nice. But Paco has already become the best steal of this team. The absolute best deal. Everybody else is drafted where they were pretty much, but Paco went from like a guy that had low elite potential to he can honestly get medium elite potential. He's only 20 years old and 85. This might end up becoming one of the best players that we've ever drafted in a draft to glory if we continue to develop in the right way. So shout out to Paco. Aside from that, Antonio, 19 points, minus 84 for the Dave man. He's only an 83, so he's already been surpassed by Paco. That's insane. That's insane. I was not expecting that. So maybe we'll use Paco as a top 2 defenseman next year. And Antonio will be back down to the top 4. I'm not really sure. But that's insane. Wow, you guys are going to really be impressed with that from Paco. Like, when I first saw him, I didn't know for sure how much he was going to develop in the first few years. But I like that we took the nice little approach about playing him in the AHL for 1 year. Because if we rushed him to the NHL, would he be this good? Tough to say. Urquhart, 15 points, minus 83. He's up to a 73. Not a bad rookie season. How's his, like, defensive stats, like his block shots and all that? Like, he might be a career guy next to Paco. 138 block shots and 52 hits. Does give away the puck a ton, but still learning, of course, at the NHL level. Aside from that, Emerson, 15 points. Only a minus 49. Not bad. And 11 points for Bednar. Kind of like the offense from the back end a bit this season. Definitely impressive. From a goaltending perspective, Kvapil had 7 of our wins this season, 5 overtime losses. So Lysak only picked up 2 of the wins, but Kvapil did pick up our first 2 shutouts, I think, in franchise history. Could be wrong with that. An 883 save percentage and a 4.77 goals against average. So both goalies had similar numbers, but Kvapil was better in save percentage because of his 2 shutouts probably, and also had more of the points for us this season. But and he also picked up an assist. So Jan Kvapil looking pretty good. He is only a 73 as a medium backup, but he is definitely a good little stopgap, like I said, until our goalie that is currently unsigned is ready to potentially jump. So that's pretty impressive. That's pretty impressive. Let's actually go to some player stats around the league briefly, too. Austin Matthews led in points. I just want to see where our rookie defenseman was in terms of rookie points. Let's see. So Paco is top 10 in rookie points this year. That's pretty solid. The best rookie, though, was obviously Landon Dupont because he's got the best potential. But Paco being a top 10 rookie is impressive. Yeah, there's definitely no chance he would win a Calder because of that plus-minus. But maybe he's a future Norris winner. Maybe he is. So there's all that. Actually, I should take a look at the AHL player stats as well for us because I tend to forget about doing this. So Veet had 71 points in the AHL. Damn. That's actually better than I expected. He doesn't have really any potential, but still he's good at the AHL level. There's Master Liskey as well. So those 2 guys can play great in the AHL. Same with Keller. Samson wasn't one of our prospects, right? No, he wasn't. He was just a filler player. Ramsey on 24 points. 17 goals in the AHL. Okay. Sarich had 24 points, 14 goals. Wakabayashi had 21 points. He's only a 56. I feel like a lot of guys didn't get much growth. Nichols, 18 points. How's he looking? 59 still. All right, he was a 53, I think, at the start of the year, though. Defenseman Andrews had a 50-point season as a defenseman in the AHL. Yeah, he's up to a 72, so he's probably ready to jump back to the NHL next year, which means somebody's going to get taken out of the lineup. Wall had 47, Seidel 32. And then goaltending-wise, Pojar had 18 wins in the AHL this year, 3 shutouts and over a 900 save percentage. So the AHL team actually took a pretty good step up. That's good. All right. So there is the stats for the season. Now we got to find out who ends up winning the Stanley Cup and all that, but I am pretty impressed with this team this season, I think, in a lot of ways. Especially Paco. Paco is already maybe going to become a GOAT. Like, who knows? Maybe next year he'll be like an 87 overall as a low elite. Maybe there's a chance he could find a way to win a Norris on a team that is draft to glory, but he needs a good plus-minus to win that Norris. So I feel like he might get no chance to win a Norris until his team's actually good, which would be detrimental. But he still could end up becoming a really good offensive defenseman based on his stats. So let's find out who ends up winning the Stanley Cup this season. Obviously, we need to also take a look at like progress reports and all that, which we know Paco got a ton of growth, but hopefully a lot of other people got some good growth, and we need to obviously take a look at what this draft class is looking like too, because we don't really know players' potentials yet at this point. So hopefully there's some good results with that. All right, so who's going to win the Stanley Cup in 2030? I don't remember who won last year out the top of my head, but who is going to win this year? It's Florida again. All right, so Florida wins the Stanley Cup. Rockford wins the Calder Cup. So the Florida Panthers winning another Stanley Cup. I think it might be their first of this franchise mode, though, if I'm not mistaken, because I think Edmonton won in the beginning. But who faced each other for the Cup? Florida and Edmonton. Why is it always Florida and Edmonton? And, of course, Edmonton would lose to them again. God damn. Via sweep this time. Crazy. All right. Well, let's go to these awards, see what we got. So Florida wins the Stanley Cup. Edmonton at least won 2 cups in these last 5 years, so they probably don't. They're not probably mad that much, but lose for the Florida 3 Stanley Cups, not in a row, but 3 Stanley Cups total is absolutely insane. It was Vegas last year, that's right. Toronto won the President's Trophy again this season. Edmonton and Florida Cup Finals. Austin Matthews, DeArt Ross, and the Hart. Adam Fox to Norris. Nylander to Lady Bing. Landon DuPont to Calder. Barkov wins the Conn Smythe. Devin Levi won the Vezina for Toronto. All right. I feel like that's a bit far-fetched, but could be wrong. Devin Levi and Hildeby also won the Jennings. Dave Antonio wins another Masterton. So Dave has now 3 Bill Mastertons because of the plus-minus. So at least he's winning hardware. Travis Green was the Jack Adams winner this year. That's kind of cool. Shout out to Travis Green. Nico Hischier wins the Selke for St. Louis. I don't even know how he ended up in St. Louis, but damn, good for him. Austin Matthews to Lindsay, and Nathan McKinnon wins the Maurice Richard. AHL-wise, any awards for our AHL team? Shout out to Jamie Benn for playing in the minors, though, right now. Let's see. The answer to that is just Seidel, again, winning another one of these guys because it's the plus-minus award, basically. So there's all the awards for the NHL and AHL. So next thing we got to take a look at is the draft lottery results and finding out what this class is like, because we don't have any idea on what this class is going to look like, to be honest. We knew that there's not a player until like the top 10 again, but we don't know player potentials and all that, so I'm excited for that. But let's find out where we're drafting this season. Hopefully we don't really have the first overall pick. Yeah, we don't have the first overall pick anyways. We do fall to 3rd again. Not really a surprise. Nashville has 1. LA has 2. All right. So 3rd overall again. Not really a surprise. We always seem to draft there. We're going to skip through that for a second. And then we have retired players. Obviously, we got to do some draft interviews and stuff like that too. But in terms of retirements, the best forwards, Stamkos, Kane, Kucherov retires. Goddamn. Some pretty damn good players this season have hung them up. So there we go. In terms of the defenseman, the best defenseman to retire is Brent Burns. Didn't realize he was still playing at 45. Brent Burns at 45. Like, I wonder at some stage if he's going to look like Santa Claus because of his beard, but that's funny. Best goalie to retire is Cam Talbot and Jake Allen. So not as crazy of a goaltending retirement crop, but definitely a good one on the forward perspective. So Stamkos was in Boston in his last season, and Kane was in Tampa with Kucherov. Kind of weird. There you go. All right, coach retirements. Did we lose any coaches? We lost Ernesto Connolly, which I don't remember if that's our head coach or not. It might have been. Or it might have been one of the other coaches. But we do lose one coach. We do not lose anybody in the AHL. Any real coaches retire? Lindy Ruff retired. Just trying to see if they're all going to get weaned out eventually. Let's see. Any other real coaches that I recognize? Don't think so. Doesn't look like it. Okay. Now we got draft interviews. So this is the main event almost. What is this draft class looking like? We're going to have to go through each league, but we're going to do some draft interviews and see. And yeah, see, like our scouts didn't really do anything on these guys because these are in leagues that we don't have. But let's change league by league. So starting off with the German league. The best player from Germany is Brock Polacek, who's only a medium 6. We do have him fully scouted at least, which is good, but he could maybe be a second rounder. Depends on what else there is available to us. MacArthur is a medium 7th, which isn't very good as an OFD, which is kind of cool though. But Turris is a low bottom 6. Yeah, there's not really a ton of good players from Germany. We'll also pin this guy because he's actually supposed to get drafted. Low bottom 6, medium bottom 6. This guy also has potential scouted, so we might as well pin him. But yeah, Germany is pretty empty for prospects, so that's not great. We head to Switzerland. Rick Green is a medium 6, but I do see another player right behind him, which is intriguing. First, though, Roger Green, medium 6, is probably like a 67 overall because it does say 2 years out. So he's looking pretty good. But this is the guy I just saw. Belgium defenseman Warren Gardner. He's a right D, low elite defensive defenseman. So he could be as good as Winchester or maybe worse. But this guy would probably be the type of player to play next to Paco. But Paco is a right D himself. Same with Dave Antonio. So this guy would be more of a top 6 option for us. But how good is Gardner? He's not going to be as good overall as Winchester. But still like a 65 plus. But he's definitely really good too. Then there's also Poxboo, medium 9. I mean, maybe he's a second rounder. Looks like a good overall out of the gate for him as a medium 9. And we do need center prospects, so maybe he could be a pick. Leach, medium 6. DFD, medium top 9 in Rizzi. There's also Bermanis is at medium 7th, low 6 in Para. Locke is medium bottom 6. There's a fringe starter in Frederick McCormick. A lot of these other guys aren't fully scouted, but Switzerland at least is better than Germany in terms of prospects, but not too sure if any of these guys are worth our first round pick right now. Like maybe Green or Gardner, but I'm not too sure if I really need another right-handed defenseman, and I'm not too sure. Actually, Rick Green is probably something we could utilize really well because he would be a second-line center instead of the medium 9 what we have right now. So right now, Rick Green looks like maybe one of the better options unless we wanted to go for another defenseman. Aside from that, from Czechia, let's see what we got here. Pete is also a medium 6. This is the Slovak. He is a sniper. Looks pretty basic, but we could use more winger help. Kennedy's a medium 4, supposed to go in the second round. He is a DFD as well, so maybe we don't take that low elite defenseman supposed to be good in the first round because we could get Kennedy easily, I think, in the second round based on his rankings. Hudler's a medium 9, low 4 for Perron. At least Czechia has some prospects as well, but I do still think there's not really a crazy good player in this class so far up to this point in time, other than that low elite. Austria. Kavanaugh's literally a low 7th. Salak's a low top 9. We don't know about Weidman and Ackers because our scouts didn't scout there, even though we have a scout there. That's kind of strange. All right. Well, at least we know on a couple of those guys. SHL, any interesting players from like Denmark or Norway? There's the Polish guy, which we don't have fully scouted, but he's probably a medium top 6. Aside from that, there is Trevelyan as a low top 6, and not looking great for Sweden. Not looking great, yeah. All right, what about Finland? There's the Polish guy in Walton. He is supposed to go top 10, so maybe Russ Walton's better than the center in that sense. Tough to say. It does say he's 3 years out, though. In green, it said it was 2 years out. So, Russ Walton could be interesting, but maybe we go for the center with our pick, realistically. There's also Bradford, who didn't get fully scouted, unfortunately. But he's probably a meme with 6 or a low elite. Probably got to scout out these guys a bit more just to see what they are. So I'll probably scout out Bradford for sure. Not sure about Jennings. Raffle didn't get fully scouted. Ruchin did. He's only a low 9. DeFazio might be an elite goalie. He might be an elite goalie. He is 19 years old, though. So I think we'll interview him for sure, too. A lot of these later round kind of guys didn't get fully scouted, so I'm kind of a little bit annoyed about that. Maybe we need more scouts in these ranges, but it is what it is. So let's see. So I think we'll interview Bradford right now and that goalie, and then we'll see if there's anything else that we could scout out. So Bradford, let's take a look at him first and foremost. Let's see what we can find out about him, what type of player he is, and his readiness. He's a playmaker. What about your ETA? Your ETA, you need a few seasons. Maybe that's 2 seasons only. No, that's 3 years. So he's probably like a 65 if he is a low elite. And then we'll also just go to his greatest strength, which apparently is his skating. All right. So he is maybe a low elite. Maybe, but I don't think he will be. He's a guaranteed playmaker. He could be literally a good low elite for the second round, but he also could be like a meme 9. It's tough to say. I could try and skid out Jennings too, but I'm not too sure yet, so we'll come back to him maybe. But I do want to scout out this goalie more. I know he's 19 years old, but if he is a medium elite, we obviously could use more goalie prospects that are really good. So let's see a little bit more on him. Play style, what type of goalie is he? A hybrid, not really a surprise. Readiness, he has like 5+ years, it looks like. Yeah, 5+ years. So yeah, he could be elite based on that, but maybe not. What is his greatest strength? His vision. Okay. Yeah, I wish I could know for sure if he was an elite goalie or not, but he could be worth the chance just to take anyways, but we don't know for a fact. But he did go undrafted, I guess, technically 1 year. All right, let's go to the Russian League just to see if there was anybody, which I don't think there was. No, it doesn't look like it. Rest of the world, there's nobody either. So I guess maybe for the last player, we'll look into that defenseman Jennings a bit too, but I don't know if he's going to be really much of anything either. But I do think there's at least some options for us. It's probably either green or we go for the low elite defenseman, but we could probably grab ourselves that medium 4 in the second round, so I might be leaning towards the center in that sense. Or we could go with the right winger, I guess, technically, too. Play style for Jennings. What's his play style? Let's see what he says. He's a stay-at-home defenseman, so he's a DFD as well. And he's a few seasons away, so probably around 3 years, maybe. So he could probably be around the same overall, but he could be a medium 6, could be a medium 4, could be a low elite, could be a low 4 even. So there is what this class is looking like. But if we wanted to make our guesses on what we're going to select first, it's got to be probably either Walton, who's projected as the highest, but he's listed as 3 years out. Or we go off the board and go for Rick Green, who's the same age and listed as 2 years out instead of 3. So right now I'm saying it's probably Rick Green or one of the right wingers, or we go for the low elite. But like I said, if we don't go for the low elite, we can literally grab ourselves Kennedy in the second round, so it's not a huge loss. So I think it's got to be one of the forwards. It's got to be one of the forwards. Yeah, that's my guess. I feel like Green could be a better fit just because we do need a second line center. But Walton as a winger, as a sniper, might not be a bad option to have behind somebody like Hromis. So yeah, it's probably not going to be a strong draft class for us, but we should be able to get some decent options, at least for us too. So there's that. Aside from that, we have a few more things to look at, which include the progress reports and the contract situation. So first and foremost, let's actually look at the contract situation. So we did re-sign Klinga All these other guys need to be re-signed, which is not going to be that bad. All these guys should want two-way deals, I would assume. Yeah, even Mullen wants a two-way, so should be pretty easy for us to get everybody back again, which is nice. And then obviously the guys that are like pending UFAs and stuff like that, we could let go of some of the guys that are just filling out the AHL if we really want to, but we might need their cap hit still for a bit. So there is that. Progress reports though. This is a big interesting part of this offseason part as well. Let's see what we got. So Banak is up to an 87 overall, so he did actually get a little bit of growth this season. Mostly statistical though, unfortunately, so I don't think he's really growing much naturally. He did in strength a bit, so that's good, but I don't really know if he's going to really go up much more than this. He is 23 still, so he does still have chances to. Reber went up by 15 points, but statistical. Senzongoth's up to a 70. That's not bad, I guess. Barrett's up to a 70 as well. But you can see definitely having this as more of a third-line center wouldn't be that bad if we have Green as a second-liner. Keller's a 67. Klinga's up to an 88, of course, and it is mostly natural growth. All natural growth, I should say. So that's good. Law's up to a 71 after 1 year, so I'll definitely take that. Obviously, a lot of penalty minutes this year. I'd assume it's mostly physical for him. Yeah, his physical play got way better. Goddamn. So we got to watch out for this guy in terms of his penalty minutes, but he's definitely a pest. Kearns went up by a decent amount of points, still only a 69 though. Right wing side of things, Horomis is up to an 88. All on natural growth. Love that. Defensively, though, we saw the big one, obviously, was Paco. We'll look at him in a second here. Dave Antonio went up to an 85, so he technically is now the best defenseman on the team. Got very good physically, so I'm guessing that's just from the preseason, maybe? I'm not too sure. But Paco is an 84, as we saw. He got 10 points of growth, all in basically his puck skills. His offensive awareness went up by 14 points this year. God damn. He just went up by 10 plus points on mostly everything. So even physical play a lot better too. And his durability is an 89, so maybe he won't get injured a ton, which is good. But Paco is insane. And I'm expecting some good stuff from him, hopefully, in the next season. Like, we at least have a legit defensive core coming together. And two of them are already right-handers. So, like I said, getting that third right-hander might not be a bad idea, but we could use that maybe as Kennedy in the second round. Aside from that, Alba Tozer got some growth as well. Mostly statistical, some natural. Andrews went up to a 73, as we saw, based on his AHL season. All natural growth for him, so he's probably back in the defensive core next year. Urquhart's a 73, and Emerson is a 69. But Urquhart getting natural growth as well. Looking pretty good for our team defensively. Because we have a legit, two good right-handers. We have a good player in Alba Tozer. Andrews could still develop. Urquhart as well. And obviously, if we draft another player as well, that could help out, round out the defensive core. From a goaltending perspective, Kvapil went up by 6 points, but he's still only a 73, but he is getting growth. Lysak went up by 11 points as a backup, so he's getting more growth, so that's good. Maybe he always needed to be a backup, tough to say. And then in the system, Poyar and Whitmore went up by 14 points. Forster, who is the unsigned goalie with potential for us, went up to a 53. So he is getting growth as well, but obviously he might be a long shot type of medium starter, so I'm hoping that there's still another option for us goaltending-wise at some point in time. Seidel up by 7 points. Wall didn't develop at all. That's not great. Schmidt went up by 13 points. All right, 57. Koshrain, number 2, I think, went up by 14 points. The other Koshrain's a 64. Nichols went up to a 62 as a medium 6. That's better, but he's definitely not developing well because he's already 20. Sarich is up to a 62 at 19. Wakabayashi 56. And Ramsey is 66. All right. Maybe we lost some of the AHL filler players to retirement. I'm not too sure, but I think we're starting to get there, though. Because if we look at our NHL roster as a whole, just based on all these ratings, everybody on the team almost is in the 70-plus range. There's some that are below, but I think we're really starting to put together this team. And obviously we have the potential to become really good, too. So I'm excited about that quite a bit. So Anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of Europe United Draft to Glory franchise mode. So in next episode, we'll pick ourselves up some more players to kind of fill out the roster even more so. And yeah, I'm excited. I think this team is definitely getting closer and closer to being fully filled out. That's what I'm trying to say, not Philly fold out. Goddamn, but I think this team could be getting closer to. We're definitely going to hit over 10 wins next season. I think 15 wins might be realistic, maybe even 20. But I do think this team is trending in the right direction. And as long as we keep on getting growth like this, if Paco delivers as we expect, I think this team is definitely going to be trending in the right direction relatively soon. So let me know anything down below, and I'll see you guys next time.